Emma Sleight is a leading voice in the global bar industry and part of the team behind the world's 50 best bars. She works to connect, document, and shape conversations around the world's most influential cocktails bar and bartenders. Emma, welcome to VisitChefTV.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
What does a great bar really mean today if you had to explain it in one sentence, if it's possible?
Oh, one sentence is tough. Okay, let's do 3 words instead. So consistency, quality, and community.
So easy. What has the most surprised you in the bar world over the past years, both positively and negatively?
Interesting. Well, there's a lot of positive to talk about. And I think one of the most exciting things to see is when new hubs or new centers of cocktail excellence are cropping up around the world. So removed from those established cocktail capitals. So from Bengaluru to Bratislava, from Ljubljana to Goa, just seeing all of those different communities, not replicating what they're seeing in other cities, but really doing their own thing and creating those moments to talk about in different spaces. That's really exciting. Definitely.
So is there any trend that is starting to bore you?
That's a really interesting question. I would say that the bar industry is so dynamic and it changes so frequently.
True.
I'm not sure. I could say if you're bored of bars, you're bored of life. And that's a really bad version of a Samuel Johnson quote. But I think, if you had to push me, small drinks in really big glasses.
That's true.
And when music is too loud. But that might be because I'm old, though.
I don't think so. I'm not agreed. Does something like a center of the bar world still exist, or is that no longer relevant?
I don't think it does anymore. I think maybe it did once, but I think that central perception has really shifted and it's reflected in those diversification of different places to drink. And people getting seriously excited about traveling around different places to experience new drinking destinations and cocktail culture. So I definitely did, but I think it's much more diluted and in a good way now for the industry.
Yeah. And which city today do you think is undeservedly overlooked?
Oh, I mean, there's lots. Okay, so Central Europe and Eastern Europe, sure, definitely. I think there's been so many incredible cocktail cities and development and historical development in so many places from London, Madrid, Barcelona. I mean, lots of incredible places, undeniable great places that will continue to be celebrated. But when you think of Europe, that's not just Europe. There's an entire continent and regional diversity in how people are drinking, what they're drinking. And it's becoming really exciting to see more of that evolution and diversity. So we're super excited for Europe's 50 Best Bars 2026. So we're hoping to shine a spotlight on that greater breadth and depth of drinking across the entire region.
And do you see the return of classic cocktails as a reaction to overcomplicated mixology?
Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? I think complicated mixology has a time and a place. It has a real relevance and resonance with people if it is done to the service of the drink and to the guest. Where it kind of crosses that line is if it becomes too complicated and if it has to take you a really long time to explain how to enjoy your drink. Is it overcomplicated? Possibly, yes. So it always has to be to the service of the guest and the quality you're drinking. But I think that there's a reason Negronis, Manhattans, Martinis are classics. I mean, there's even so many nuances you can do to those cocktails to make them feel unique or different or fresh. I've been a dirty gin martini drinker my whole life. I was a diehard. If it is not got brine and olives in it, it's not for me. But I've been really enjoying a little Vespa. I've been enjoying the vodka martinis. I've been enjoying with a twist. So, I think there's classics for a reason, and mixology has its space too.
Where do you think is the line between creativity and unnecessary complexity?
And I think that's what I mean when I say when it crosses the line and it does a disservice to the customer or the guest. If it's making your interaction overly complicated to the point where you're not enjoying it as much as because you feel like you have to pay attention to every single minutiae of the drink, otherwise you won't get it, you won't enjoy it, you won't understand it, then I think that might cross into that line.
And if we are talking about the classic cocktails, classics, is still possible today to create a new classic?
I think so. I mean, people are doing it. I think it would be an interesting question, actually, for all the bartenders you're going to interview. What is the drink that they drink as a classic, and what would they consider to be their new classic? Because there are so many versions of a classic now. What are you arguing is the classic anymore anyway?
Kind of twists.
Yeah, of course. And everyone, it seems like the most used thing on a menu. Oh, it's twists on a classic. But there's reason for that and appetite for it. So I do think you can. And I think if I was pushed to answer that with a drink, there was a drink that Hampus Tunholm made from Roro Huset.
Okay.
And it's called Good Cream. And it's this seasonally varied milk punch. And whatever is in season, from sweet vernal grass to something else, is what they'll use to make the drink. And it is so drinkable. It feels to me like something I would always order if I was there or if I saw them, that bar, anywhere in the world. So to me, maybe that's a classic.
Maybe it should be. Yes. What has been your strongest personal experience in bar?
Oh, I've had so many. So obviously I don't have favorites. No one at 50 Best does. So it's more from memorable experiences. So, gosh, everywhere in the world I've had memorable experiences. One that comes to mind might not be a great reflection on cocktails. So my brother hates cocktails.
Okay.
He's not a cocktail drinker. He's a beer fan. That's all he'll drink. Occasionally he'll have wine. And when I was visiting him in Sydney, I insisted he come on a cocktail tour with me, and he wasn't enjoying himself. He got to be a little more enjoyed towards the end. But we went to Maybe Sammy, and they spent so much time with him talking through the menu, the ingredients, the choices. Can he remember a drink he had in the past that he liked? What did he like about it? To the point where they actually got him a couple of drinks that he really, really enjoyed. So I thought that was such a wonderfully personal experience for him. And then there's other small things like Bar Cham in Seoul. I was having a drink there one night, and BJ was behind the bar, and someone walked in, and he knew her name, and he knew the last time she'd visited, and he remembered the drink that she ordered. And she sat next to me and we got to chatting. She hadn't been in that bar for 4 years, and he still remembered her.
Truly professional.
And that's just crazy when that happens. So it just is testament to the bartending industry.
This sounds so great.
That's special.
Yeah, exactly. How much influence do rankings like the world's 50 best bars have today on where people actually go?
I think they really help guide people on where to go. There's so much choice out there, and people's travel habits are really starting to change. Once they might have picked a city and said, I'm going to go to that city and explore it. And now increasingly they're saying, I want to go to that bar, or I want to go to that restaurant, and I want to experience that very specific thing. So what we ultimately hope that people use our list for is that guide to discovering something new. It's when you see people, we post a list, and on the social media comments will be, oh, I've never heard of that place. I'm going to try and get out there to experience it myself. Yeah. So ultimately, we're hoping it's guiding people to discovering something new and to travel more, try more, explore more.
And what is the biggest misunderstanding about the world's 50 best bars?
Oh, okay. Well, possibly one of the biggest misunderstandings is that it's a list that's popularity driven rather than experience driven. Yeah. So the list itself is fundamentally experience led. The voters, our global voting academies are made up of different numbers of voters depending on which lists we're talking about. So, for example, the world's 50 best bars is more than 800 voters around the globe. In Europe's 50 Best Bars, for example, there are more than 300 voters. And what we ask those voters to do is simply pick their 7 very best bar experiences that they have had. So it's completely subjective. We give them no criteria. We don't tell them where to visit. We don't tell them what to look for, because fundamentally it comes from a space of understanding that objectively my bar experience is going to, and what I love is going to be completely different to the next person, the next person, the next person.
Of course, yes.
So by not having any codified criteria, we're really leaving it up to that subjective opinion. And then the lists become a snapshot of people's opinions, where they've traveled, and a reflection of the bar industry at that particular moment. So it's very dynamic.
Okay, so how would you explain the judging process to someone who thinks it's just about popularity?
Sure. So all of our judging processes for any list, irrespective of how you look at it, are built on the same framework. We split regions, we split the lists into different regions that they cover. Each of those regions is headed up by what we call an academy chair. The role of an academy chair is to recruit voters from their respective regions. The voters have to be anonymous and confidential. They have to come from one of 3 criterion. So they have to be bartenders or bar owners, media, or well-traveled cocktail global experts. And then all we simply ask them to do is vote for their 7 very best experiences in Europe's 50 Best Bars, for example. And those experiences are solely based on their personal experience, their very best memory that they have made in a bar. And that's it. So there's lots of caveats around the rules, such as no PRs are allowed to vote. None of our brands are allowed to vote, or anyone affiliated with our brands. No one at 50 Best can vote. We remain completely separate from the vote and influencing the list. And the list is entirely confidential until it is announced live on the night. Yeah. So bars know they're ranked because we have to tell them in advance, but they have no idea what number they're ranked or if they're a recipient of a special award. So everybody finds out at the same time on the night of our live awards.
And how different is what the judges are looking for compared to what bar professionals think is matter?
I mean, honestly, that's really difficult to answer because it all comes down to what they subjectively are interested in. So the quality of drinks will always be paramount, as will the service, because those are 2 very important factors to a bar. But some voters might be more or less interested in other criteria. They might be thinking about sustainability being very important to them. They might be very preoccupied or involved with the design of a space and how they feel in that space. So it's really difficult to qualify that because every voter will individually be looking for something different. And that's why you get such a diversity of bars being included in the list.
Is it even fair to evaluate gastronomy in this way?
It's an interesting question. Is it fair to evaluate gastronomy? I think the thing to remember is what we're not producing is conclusive truth. We are not definitively saying this is absolutely, ultimately the only best places you can ever visit. It is quite literally a subjective list that's built on a snapshot of opinions. So therefore, in that way, if it helps people discover more or even discuss more about the list, then perhaps it helps lean into that fairness.
All right, so but then how can you tell when a bar is just playing the game to get into ranking?
Kind of depends what you mean by playing the game, but I guess a common one is people talk about guest shifts or visibility.
Yes.
So guest shifts are a brilliant way of connecting communities, of collaborating. It's how the bar world has learned so much from each other, is spending time with each other around the world. So they're a brilliant thing. But fundamentally, the important thing is they alone, that activity is not a pathway to being ranked. And it's fundamentally important to remember that guest shifts and pop-ups are also ineligible for votes. Voters have to visit bars in their natural habitat and their natural state. So ultimately, while it might be great for visibility and getting the message out there, meeting new people, potentially bringing more people to the bar, but ultimately you never know if those people coming to your bar are voters or not because they're confidential and anonymous. So that's why we say you should be giving every single guest who walks into your door the very best experience of you and what you do, and then just try and see the awards as a byproduct of that hard work rather than the goal.
What is the line between natural brand building and optimizing for rankings?
Again, that would be difficult for us to answer, but I think it does come back down to that idea of finding what you do really well.
Yes.
And really working on that. So it goes back, we talked about sometimes bars were in a space of emulating each other or seeing success in other bars and thinking that's what I need to do to be successful.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the bars that consistently seem to rank or seem to resonate with voters are the bars who are really doing their own thing just really, really well. So what can you give that someone else can't do? How are you leaning into your local community, your local identity, your local culture, your local produce, if that's what works for you as a bar? But what are you really doing and how is that showing up every day?
Is there great bars that will never make into the rankings, and why?
Possibly. I mean, there are incredible bars around the world, right?
Sure.
How many bars are there actually? Has anyone actually tried to count them?
Exactly.
And I think it's really interesting because there will always be a finite list. There are only 50 spots or 100 spots if you include the 51 to 100. Yeah. And the nature of the rankings is that when new bars come in, whether that's a re-entry or a new entry, something has to drop out or drop down. And there may be incredible bars out there that might never appear in the lists. That doesn't reflect their quality or say anything about them as a bar. It's just perhaps voters haven't had the chance to visit them yet, and perhaps that's why they're not having that visibility. So it would be great to talk about 50 Best Discovery, which is our platform. It's a database, really, that exists on our site. So we encourage people to use it like a travel planning system. So you can type in a destination or a location, and it will throw up hotels, bars, vineyards in that area. And there's no accidental collation to why those bars, restaurants, hotels, vineyards are there. So it's not a list in and of itself, but every single property, and there is more than 3,700 destinations around the world listed on the database. And they have all at some point received a number of votes as part of the annual voting polls. So not enough to put it in the main lists, but enough to put it on 50 Best Discovery. So it's really our way of showing more breadth, more diversity, and showing that wide range of different styles of places.
Is it still possible to get into ranking purely based on quality, or is networking essential?
It's really difficult to say. I mean, there are bars who've been ranked who have said, I don't know how I got here because I'm a 6-seater bar in a subterranean car park in the middle of nowhere, right? But I think it's a combination of the two. Without quality and consistency and truly fantastic hospitality, that's going to really show in time, and that will be reflected in the rankings. I don't think you can have one without the other. I think community collaboration, reaching out, making connections is a fabulous thing. But if it's not built on the basics of quality and consistency, I think that really will play out in the ranking.
I agree. How important is storytelling compared to the actual product?
Oh, well, it's interesting, isn't it? I think the product is the base. The product has to be great.
Yeah.
You can have the world's most wonderful story, but if the actual quality of the drink and you don't enjoy drinking it, then you might remember the story, but it would also be coupled with, but I didn't actually enjoy the drink. I probably wouldn't order it again. So storytelling is brilliant because it means people can share their ethos, share their thought process and their creativity that has gone into creating what they do. So it's an essential part of that narrative of a bar. How does it articulate itself? What's its reason for being? But it has to go hand in hand with the base product.
Yeah. And how do you see the bar scene of Central Europe today?
Exciting, I would say. Emerging, getting more global recognition. And I think it's going to be really exciting to see what happens in Central and Eastern Europe and what's going to happen in the coming years. And I think, even look at last year with Mirror Bar being named the Di Sorono highest new entry as part of the World's 50 Best Bars 2025. So the recognition is already starting. So it's going to be really exciting to see it develop.
And does the region have a clear identity, or is still searching for one?
I think it's making its identity. I think what the bars here are doing really well is honing in on that concept of only we can do what we do. So how do we use that to talk about ourselves? So, I mean, I won't even attempt to name some of the spirits I've been drinking since I've been here, but it's been really interesting and I couldn't have had that experience elsewhere. So I think the more bars are starting to lean into that sense of self, sense of identity, sense of local community, that's what's going to be really exciting to see develop.
What do bars in the region do differently compared to Western Europe or Asia?
Oh, interesting. Maybe Western Europe is a little more rooted in the classics, I would say. Very sort of, and I think that's reflected actually in the list. So there's a reason that bars like the Connaught Bar always are highly well regarded and well lauded. They know what they're good at. They're exceptionally well known for their martinis, and that's where they show up every day. I think compared to Asia, Asia's super dynamic and very interesting, but I would say Asia has started, well, is not even started, it is doing that very much leaning into its own sense of self. So you'll see a vast difference in bars in Hong Kong versus bars in mainland China versus bars in Taiwan. So a lot of bars are really leaning into that local identity. So like vendor in Taichung, there's ingredients on that menu that Summer and Darren put together that you can't get anywhere outside of Taiwan. So, and it's the same in Seoul at Zest. So Demi and his team using sochu and local producers of, there's an orange that they get from Jeju that is very particularly sweet and particularly flavoursome. And that's only something you can have there. So how do you, I think I do see that sort of similarity between Asia and Central and Eastern Europe and leaning into their personal narratives and their personal locale.
I understand. Why do you think Central Europe is still underrepresented in global rankings?
It's really hard to say, honestly. I think maybe it's just a reflection of where people are traveling and where they've had the opportunity to visit. And I think it's quite normal to see shifting patterns in people's visiting habits and where people are really experiencing truly exciting, memorable things. So I do see that shift already starting to happen. We talked about Mirabar's accolade last year. Also, Nouvelle Vague from Tirana was ranked last year as well for the first time in the world's 50 best bars 2025. So we look forward to seeing what Europe's 50 best bars will bring.
And do you see any city or scene here that could become the next hotspot?
Oh, there's loads of emerging hotspots. I mean, Krakow, Ljubljana, Warsaw, Budapest, Prague. I mean, yes, Prague. I got you. Of course. How could I not? But yeah, I mean, even outside of Athens in Greece, the islands are doing some really interesting stuff in bar spaces. So looking forward to see how that continues to develop.
And what could help Central Europe break through them more globally?
Honestly, that's difficult for us to give advice on because we can only shine a spotlight on the stories and the narratives that are happening. So we always encourage everybody to keep us updated with what's going on, what's new openings are happening in the regions, what's new menus are happening, what are the new stories, what are people doing differently. And then that helps us build an editorial narrative through 50 Best so we can tell people, hey, have you considered what's going on over here? So I think just continuing to build on what they're doing, building communities, building networks, and really showcasing what they can do.
And what comes to your mind when you hear Bratislava in the context of bar culture?
I think quietly confident. It feels like an interesting space to be. Really, I mean, yeah, being able to drink at Mirror Bar for the first time was interesting. They're very secure in what they do and they're doing their own thing. And if that's an indication of what Bratislava is doing, then I'm intrigued to see more.
And does it make sense for smaller cities to aim for global recognition, or it's there straight somewhere else?
I mean, we couldn't really advise on what's best for bars to do. It has to kind of come from what does the bar want? And ultimately, you got to hope that what bars want is just to be great bars, irrespective of whether they are noticed globally or internationally, or whether they are just having the best loyal clientele that go to them every day and think they're the best thing ever. That's a fabulous thing and should be celebrated. So it kind of depends on what the bar wants, right? And sometimes it's not the bar's choice. Hey, if those anonymous voters follow a travel trend and end up in a place and then suddenly those spaces appear on the list, unfortunately that does bring global attention, whether it's wanted or not.
So how can a local scene grow without losing its authenticity?
I think that's down to the local scene. Rather than growing upwards, think about growing outwards. How do you bring your local community on the journey with you when you're developing and growing and learning? How do you lean more into supporting each other as a local bar community, bringing voices together, sharing techniques, sharing ideas? And how do you build those communities, not just bringing external communities in, but building them from the inside out?
Looking ahead, what will define a great bar in 5 years and what will no longer matter?
I mean, get my crystal ball out.
Exactly.
Don't hold me to it because you never know. But I think hospitality is still going to be key. I don't think you can replicate that human interaction and human engagement. Exactly. AI is here and we all need to use it and get comfortable with it. AI can do lots of really helpful stuff in a bar. It can do lots of manual thought process around inventory or listing or ordering or customer booking. But what it can never do is replicate that sense of hospitality and occasion and experience. And I think even as it becomes even more important as the bar world changes. People are becoming very choiceful about where they go, where they spend their time, where they choose to spend their time really meaningfully. So having those human connectors and that real sense of hospitality is what is going to keep people coming back. It's still going to matter in 5 years as it does now.
Hopefully, yes. And what will you never want to see change in bar?
For me, it is a very special thing that bartenders do. When they understand innately how someone is feeling when they walk into a bar. It's like when someone says, what style of bar do you like? And the answer is, well, what mood am I in when you're asking me? So there are sometimes when you walk into a bar and all you want to do is sit in a corner and have a quiet drink. And you want to smile and be polite, but you don't want to have a full-blown conversation. And there are other times when you want to sit right at the bar and you want to ask all the questions. What's that? How's that made? Show me this. Would I like to see the lab? Hell yeah, I would. Show me the lab. And so I love that nuance of a great bartender being able to completely and utterly understand that human situation and respond accordingly. So I hope that never changes.
Thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you so much.
Emma Sleight from the world's 50 best bars has been a guest of the Visit Chef. Thank you very much and take care.
Thank you.
To byla další epizoda z podcastu magazínu VisitChef. Všechny epizody naleznete v našem archivu na www.visitchef.com/podcast a také ve všech podcastových aplikacích. Kontaktovat nás můžete na adrese redakce@visitchef.com. Na nový díl podcastu od nás se můžete těšit každý týden. A my se budeme těšit na vás.